was just saying that if you could create your own perfect customer, Jim and Christie would probably they would definitely be part of the formulation. But it had a good experience just meeting them and then working through the installation with them. Even though I really wasn't present on the job, we put Chaco as the project coordinator on the job, and it. As I was saying, trying to say earlier, we could get a lot of happy customers on here and put a lot of fluff on here on jobs that went perfectly. But I would rather talk about the jobs that didn't go perfectly, and this is definitely one of them. But to start with, Jim and Christie, if you don't mind, if you would just tell us kind of how you found us and tell us the process about that led us up to the day we met at your backyard.
Well, most of my life is revolved around duck hunting, so it kind of starts there. But my brother and I duck hunt in Missouri, and the way sometimes Google Maps will take you, it took us. I'm trying to think of the name of the road, and that's what I don't know. But I just remember looking to the left and seeing Aloha Pools and seeing some fiberglass pools or something kind of stood on their side.
Oh, you came through Union City.
Okay, Union City. There we go.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Right.
And we had been talking about a pool. We've always had above ground pools since probably early mid 2000s. And over the years, as the family's grown, we've always said someday maybe an in-ground pool. We both are kids of parents who had in-ground pools, and we remember the joys that came along with that. So right. As we're driving through there, I see it, and I don't know if I sent her a text message or a phone call or whatever, say, hey, check this website out, see what they have to offer. And we were thinking fiberglass. And I'll throw this in there because this is very important to us. But all along the time, we know that a swimming pool is a complete want. There's nobody in this world who says, I need a pool.
Exactly.
So in our prayers, we were saying, God, if this isn't something you want, if we're wasting money or we're spending it, we're not being good stewards of what you've given us, shut it down. Let my truck wreck, something happen that it's just, I know that this is you, and you're saying don't do this. And then again, we meet Brad, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is really smooth. These are really nice people. I'm feeling a sense that they're Christian, we're Christian, and God, I hope you're in the middle of this. And that's when we met at our house for the first time, and I think we had a little bit of a conversation about that. And I think Brad talked a little bit about your dad, and
right.
And I knew then, I said, okay, at least on the front end, we were supposed to meet. And then I think that's kind of where it took off from there, that we were just kind of like all in. We never got another quote from anybody. We never checked, shopped, or anything like that.
Yeah.
We just said, okay, we believe our prayer was answered, that this is something that, God, you're going to allow us to have as a want, and us just enjoy something on this earth that we know can be very corrupt. But anyway, that's kind of how it got started.
Yeah. And I have to confess, John, I started talking about my dad, and there was my son with me. And you've seen me at a sales meeting going back and forth with my son and with Case, and I kind of lost composure there a little bit. Here in my older years, sometimes I get a little emotional about how fortunate I was coming up, with the dad, and how fortunate I am to be able to work with my family still, and my son in particular, and in this case. And so I had to regain composure in front of these people.
No, it was for me same thing. When I first got out of high school, my dad did fire protection sprinklers, and I went out of high school right into business with him. And I think that really joined our relationship in a way. Not only being my dad, but getting to work doing pipe fitter and pipe work with him. And he's now 79 years old, so when someone talks about their dad, I immediately go to the same place. Like, I know, because I can't imagine. The day when it happens, man, oh man. So I feel you, and I felt that connection.
Yeah. Well, it's same here. And so so we got the pool going, and So tell us about how that kind of went down. So I know you had to get you wanted to get your pool down and your deck moved and all, and then tell us about the pool process, kind of how that went, if you don't mind.
So I'll jump in here. I'll back up just a little bit because when you came to the house with your son, we were still debating amongst ourselves because he wanted a fiberglass pool.
Okay.
He wanted a deep end, and I understand that they make those, but I wanted a tanning ledge. And so
Okay.
we came to a crossroads there where we had to make a decision. Were we going fiberglass or were we going all in with an in-ground pool that was more custom built? And I think that's where we made the decision that we were going to not go fiberglass. So
Right.
if this was an investment that we were going to make and we were going to build memories here with our kids, and we have 9 grandkids, so there's a lot of memories to be made. Here, we decided let's do exactly what we want. And so we made that decision to make that leap to go and do exactly what we wanted. And I am a visual person. So the fact that you guys came on site and laid things out for us in the backyard and in our ground really helped me kind of figure things out, and especially how much concrete I wanted on each side.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fancy person. I'm very plain. So we got plain concrete. So just kind of that, and Jim and I laid things out in the yard, like here's where the concrete's going to come. We can't go this way because of septic tanks, and so the layout is perfect for us right now. I'm glad we chose where we did. But yes, we had to get rid of a above ground pool and a deck. So it took us some couple of weeks to kind of get that done.
It didn't take us nothing.
All right.
I saw the above ground pool on Facebook.
It's the royal
Marketplace,
us.
So I did do some work there.
Right.
Yeah. So we had some cleanup that we had to do on our own. Some flowers that had to be dug up so that if we wanted to save them, bushes, that kind of thing, we had to kind of get some of that preparation. We could have easily paid somebody to do that, but we are very hands-on and very DIY ourselves.
We're saving money.
And we're saving money
Sure.
for the pool. Yeah.
But when they came up, the lay it out, being able to take the string and stakes and say, this is what it is, but also to have someone, the experience of putting in pools for how many years, Brad?
So myself, 36 or 37.
Okay.
I started when I was
40
4.
years of experience coming into the house and saying, okay, this is what we've seen work.
Right.
This is what your layout, what you're talking through. This is what I think works best for you. And to be able to lean on experience and not just, well, this is what I think. No, this is what my pool and Shaco having a pool, all those things.
Right.
You had somebody been there, done that, and you can't buy experience. It just takes experience.
Well, I appreciate that. And the yard, the way it lays out, wasn't that difficult, but there's some water running across and we had to deal with some things, and I guess we got that worked out. So we show up on the job. Take us through any of that under it.
We just want to jump in the deep end.
Well,
That's right.
Before you get started, because you're more construction wordy person than me, I will just say I was very impressed with the amount of time that it took to install this pool. Like, we had a deadline, I think, to begin April 1st, and it was completed before April 1st. So, we got to enjoy the pool for that entire season. And we started our conversations pretty early with you guys in January so that we could meet our target deadline and have it in the backyard for the summertime. So you guys exceeded our expectations and exceeded the target dates that we had in our mind we were expecting.
Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen, but you're right though. Doing it early, it typically increases our chances of coming in on time.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So we because it was a slope, and I think the 40-foot pool that it is, then adding concrete on both ends, there was a lot of dirt that had to be brought in, a little bit of excavating to get something level on an unlevel playing field. And so, but again, what she just said, I can't reiterate enough and it has to go all into experience. And hey, we know this, we do this every day, because they come in and just with the backhoe and start digging and stuff. And all of a sudden before long, they're putting up the walls, the footers, and they're putting up concrete. I'm going, goodness gracious. And I said, they're going to be putting water in this thing in 2 weeks. We'll be ice skating on it before we ever swim. It's
exactly
crazy.
right.
But it was just, man, just the proficiency, how quick, and just, when, again, like I said, you get up and do something every day, man, y'all really showed up and showed out on how quick it went in.
I appreciate you saying that, but the guys come home in 3 days. I'm like, what took you so long? I'm sorry, because I live, eat, and breathe the idea that if cars can be built in an assembly line at the speed at which they can, and all the bolts and nuts and all the precision that has to at the precision of like however many cars a day on an assembly line, that we should be able to build a pool faster. And so I kind of fixate on quality and speed and marrying the two. And at some point something gives, but just finding that middle point. But I appreciate you saying that.
Did I hear you guys got your pool built during the winter? Is that?
Yeah.
So were you happy about that decision going in the kind of off season, or?
Yes, I'm not so much as a planner as much as she's a planner. Somehow that works. But hey, let's go do it. Let's just go. I'm not saying fly by the seat of my pants, but let's go get it done. Where she was more orchestrated and planned out. The finances, of course, being very important. So if we start talking January, February, March, saving this much, doing this much, collecting cans on the side of the road, that type of stuff, selling plasma, anything to get the money in there.
Right.
So we were target April, May. By that time, a few months with what we already saved, that was a plan. But like I said, okay. But then all of a sudden you get a phone call and say, hey, we got this or that. And just, man, the amazement of how smooth it was, how quick it was awesome. And no, we didn't expect anybody to do construction in the winter or close to that or whatever. Now, who does? I mean, again, all of that just played into it, that we were, again, I know that faith may not be a seller, and I don't mean to make God's house into a den of thieves, but it was just, to us, answered prayers, because we kept relying on him to lead us. And if this is something you don't want, stop it. But it didn't happen that way. Everything just kind of fell into place smoothly, quickly, and accurately.
I appreciate that. And, since we're talking about faith and God, I don't really know if it was an act of God or what happened, but we had something happen on the job. I don't. My guys say that it was an act of a concrete mixer company, or the concrete recipe got messed up, or because of the way the concrete came out of the chute. But you want to tell us kind of what happened? What the bad part of this story?
So everything went. Everything is installed, and I don't know if water. I don't know. Again, Mr. Brad, you'd have to correct me on where about water would be being installed once the outer skirt has been poured, but that was all poured. And I'm out there walking around looking at it, and I see kind of like a hairline crack. And I mean literally a hairline crack. Not being in the construction side of concrete, I called my brother, who does do some things like that. And I said, hey, I noticed a hairline crack, and what does everybody say? All concrete crack, all of it. Sometime point
we have a video on that, yeah.
So he said, it wouldn't be a big deal. So next day or whatever, I'm walking around and going, well, I see 2 or 3 cracks. I called my brother. I said, what about 2 or 3? Well, he came by to see me a couple of days after that and said, and we started kind of counting them, and there was like 20 hairline cracks, and he's going, that's not good. And I went, oh, what do you mean that's not good? He goes, well, that's not good. He goes, the concrete, there's something wrong with the concrete. And he goes, it just didn't bond, it didn't mix well, or something like that.
It's too cold.
He was asking me temperatures and the conditions that day, and I said, I can't stick a finger in my ear. Don't ask me what the temperature was that day. I don't know. So,
right.
So anyway, we called Mr. Brad and Chaco, and I think that within, I don't know if it's that day or the next day, shows up, and that's where, again, we're like, God, if this wasn't supposed to be, let it cave in. But, and we thought, you think in a minute, and I hope this portrays out the way I mean it, and maybe my saying it won't be, you expect a fight. You know, if you take your car to get an alignment and you get out and the steering wheel's crooked, you expect to go back and say, hey, this ain't the way the steering wheel was. And you're expecting an argument and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was 100% completely the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was, oh my goodness, we're going to take care of this. And I just looked at Chaco and I said, do what? And he goes, yeah, let me call somebody. So he's on the phone out there, and I don't know if he was speaking English. I couldn't tell, but it was really fast, really excited. And he was telling somebody, and I kind of walked in the house. And I don't know if I need to be hearing him talking to whomever he's talking to. And, hey, we'll be here tomorrow. Tear it out. And I looked at him and I said, do what? And he goes, we'll be here tomorrow. We're going to jackhammer it out. And I've already called this. We're doing this. We're doing that. And I don't know if I can put a face of stun, but you're going to work. And so I called my brother and I said, hey, you're not going to believe this. He goes, oh, they'll probably just tear out where the cracks are. And I said, no, Ryan, they said they're tearing it all out. Whole new port. He goes, what? What's the name of that company? And I said, Aloha Pools. He goes, man, you need to keep them, named, because nobody does that. Nobody does that. They just may patch it or fix it, but nobody is going to tear out the concrete. And then he even said, I'll be shocked if they come back and do it. The next day, jackhammers, sledgehammers, chisels, whatever you want out here, and like a bunch of Indians running around. And in that day, it was tore out, formed back up. And I don't want to misspeak, but I don't know if they wasn't pouring the next morning or something like that. It was, I don't know, speechless.
Mm-hmm.
And my recollection of it is I was looking at concrete tickets or something, or I heard it. Chaco never called me to say. He didn't have to, because he knew what I was going to say. But I found out about it either, we were on a construction meeting or something like that. We got to go report that or retour that. Or I saw it on 2 sets of concrete tickets for the same job or whatever. And I gotta hand that to Chaco for doing that, because it would have been the same result. It just, this way it happened faster, and I thought, I just think that sometimes when people are out there trying to get a price, that's they don't get that with that low price or that just whatever. And so, we a lot of people are talking about price and they don't realize it. We may be a little bit higher, but the things that we will do for our people is what we feel like we end up being less in the long term when things like this happen, like considerably less.
Yeah, I think all of us, no matter what we're doing, sometimes the price doesn't matter when it comes to how they treat you.
And the quality.
And if I'm doing a Zoom call, but this person on the other side of it is treating me like an equal or serving me or, wanting to really care about me, I'm going, well, I don't care if I got makeup on or not. I don't care. Let's just do it because you get treated well. And I
John's got the makeup on.
Yeah. There's something to be said.
Or Publix or Walmart or whatever, and you go in those stores or buying a car, whatever the case may be, but they treat me good. I know I'm going to get treated like a human being. And again, hats off to you, Brad, because that first meeting, we said, we don't need to shop around because I feel like they're treating me like a person and they're going to take care of me. And that has been the case all the way up to putting the coming up and winterizing it and putting the cover on it. I mean, the guy was out here with his truck with headlights shining on it because they said they would be here and something else held them up, but they were here with headlights shining across the pool, putting the cover on because they said they would do it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. He was out here at night. I was going.
That's it.
How was he going to see? Yes.
Right. And I got to hand it to the service guys. It's an advertisement for the service guys as well, though. They when they get in opening mode and closing mode, they put in some super, super long hours. So I'm just going to wrap it up here with a couple questions. is there anything that you would say that surprised you, or that you would want to tell your friend if you said, "Hey, call these people," or "Hey, you're getting a pool. Let me just tell you about one particular part of the process that surprised you," or what recommendation you would make, assuming you would recommend us, and I appreciate that. Going beyond that, more or less, what you would recommend to a customer that you would do differently, or to be prepared for, or just any advice that you would give a would-be pool buyer to look out for, or reconsider, or what would you do differently if you had a chance to do something again, different, do it again?
For me, I'm thankful that you spoke up, and that no one has ever came to you and said, "I wish we would have done less concrete."
Oh,
I think that was an important
Yeah.
sentence that you made to us. Hey,
always say that.
nobody has ever said, "Oh, we got too much concrete on the skirt or the pad on the outside." And we listened to that, and we are thankful that we did, because we're going, "Yeah, that was great advice."
Yes.
Good.
Agree.
What else?
I outside of the concrete things, and that was taken care of very quickly and very swiftly. But
Right.
I don't think there's anything that I would change. Would you?
No, y'all nailed it.
Yeah.
And I think we even said that in the survey that we emailed or whatever.
Solid.
Brad put a class on how to treat people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
You don't need to sell pools;
Yeah.
just treat people right,
oh, yeah.
and the pools will sell.
I mean, right down to even Chaco coming back out here and explaining how this massive pool pump works and what we need to do. And I myself have even learned a few things. And before our above ground pool, I didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Now I can turn the slide on.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Him giving you his personal cell number,
Sure.
Chaco. I don't know how many times I texted or called him, and he
Right.
was really, really quick and driving up here, whatever. I don't know. It's just been a great, although a bad experience, you might say. I don't
Right.
look at it that
It's
way.
right,
It's
exactly.
all been a blessing. It all worked.
Well, I
out.
appreciate that, and you guys are a blessing as well. I'll just say that. Wish every customer was as great as you. And we've got a lot of great customers. Not to take anything away from anybody. Any
Well, you sending
final
us that $5,000 check, telling us we were the best
for doing this? Yeah,
that works.
for lying about all of this. You're going to need that as an atonement for your sin of lying. I don't know. I can't thank y'all enough. You guys are great customers. It's I was going to tell John, they sent me a video. They texted me a video of their 9 grandkids yelling aloha, or it's been a while, but I'm going to send it to you, and hopefully you can put it on here, and that can be the outro. Their beautiful family enjoying the pool right in the middle of the season. Might have been 4th of July weekend, I don't know, but that's to me the best. Because I'll always say this, that anytime somebody calls and says, "I just want you to know we're loving our pool," I always say, "I'm sorry, you got the wrong number. Only complaints here." Right? And so I don't know if I said that to you or not, but I do that a lot. Yeah, but they sent a couple of videos of their beautiful family and jumping off the pool and sliding down the slide and all that, man. And that's where it's at. So thank y'all very much. I hope we can do something for you again in the future. I hope it doesn't have to be tearing out concrete, but if it does, we'll be here for you.
We'll be
Okay.
all right.
Yeah.
We can make it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank y'all very much.
Awesome.
God
Thanks
bless you.
again, guys, for
Thank you.
joining us for doing this.
absolutely. Yes.
And with that, I'll say that concludes another Aloha Pools and Spas Deep Dive podcast. What we typically say at the end of all these is dive safely.
There you go.